As much as we don't want it to be true, as much as I wish this was a bad dream, Paralives has been delayed a further 6 months. And as disappointing as that is, this might actually be the best thing that could have happened to the game. Hope is not lost, and personally I am just as excited as ever. So let's get into the why. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I first of all want to say a massive thank you for all the support you've given me so far. I do only have 1 video and 2 shorts, so I've not smashed it out the park by any means, but I've just been blown away and honestly touched by the comments and the show of love for what I have put out so far. It might not seem like much to others, but I am truly grateful. I was fully expecting to have 0 views for at least 20 videos, so hearing that some of you actually enjoyed them and were excited for more, it just genuinely motivated me. And I really hope I can keep creating more content that you guys enjoy. I do really want this channel to be a place where we can go on this crazy, wild Paralives journey together. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep striving to improve with every single video. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So as with all journeys in life that have ups and downs, this one has had quite a big down. We were, I feel, as a community on a rapidly building high with the run up to the release of Paralives. I saw left, right and centre new Paralives channels popping up all over the place every single week. Clearly a symptom of the rapid popularity the game has been gaining. It was coming at such a good time as well, in my opinion. The Sims had just been bought out, and I think finally people were kind of just getting tired of EA's cash grabbing nature. Not to mention the ever increasing number of bugs and crashes, which I think it just speaks to the nature of the ramshackle foundations that the game was built on. We kind of all know this. So I think a lot of people were kind of gearing up to migrate to Paralives, hoping for it to be their next big life sim. And I genuinely don't say that with any glee whatsoever, because it does really sadden me deeply to see what's become of the Sims. The franchise is cherished by millions of people all over the globe, and as I said in my last video, like myself, many people grew up with it. I consider the game to have part raised me, and it's got shared custody of me with my parents at this point. Anyway, back to the point. So we were all gearing up to the big release and somewhat anxiously waiting, if I'm honest. Many people did have some quiet concerns about the game, in particular the live mode. We'd seen so much of the build tools and even the Paramaker. They were the 2 things that initially drew so much traction towards the game, but we hadn't seen nearly as much of the live mode. And to be totally transparent, there was a little quiet voice inside me that asked, we haven't really seen much live mode footage, why is that? There did exist a tiny seed of doubt, and I saw it online too in the Paralives Discord, YouTube comments and Reddit. It was there, and I did pay some attention to those comments of people who were concerned that the game did seem to be lacking in things to do, but I just sort of pushed that little voice to the side. I ignored it because, quite frankly, I was just so excited about the game, and I just did not want to hear or believe that there was anything that could possibly prevent it from releasing on time. I just sort of kept going with that blind hope, and I really needed this game. I still need this game. And some people might think that that's completely dramatic. It's just a game, and that's fine, but life sims are more than games for a lot of us. They're an escape. And that's what drew so many to Sims, because it was like real life but better. It was silly, a virtual space where you can make things happen with no consequence. And on the other hand, do things you wish you could do in real life. You can have total control when you otherwise wouldn't or couldn't in reality. I've lost count of the amount of animal sanctuaries and stables I've made in The Sims, and know it never gets boring. Gaming in a way is an escape like no other. It just takes you away from the real world and into an immersive alternate universe. Especially when we consider what's going on in the real world right now and the issues that so many real people face. And Paralives, being an indie developer made by those real everyday people, kind of understand that. They've always cared about the community and about making a game that speaks to their audience, one that's owned by them, heard by them. So it isn't deep or dramatic really to say that people were quite devastated when the game was delayed on Friday. So many people were waiting, getting ever more impatient as the days went by. I booked off a week of work. My co-workers even know about this game and how excited I am for it. For many, this game would have been an escape, and a somewhat familiar one at that, having played Sims for decades. But not only just that, it was something revolutionary. A lot of hope was riding on it. I think there was a lot of pressure on the team to get it right. They weren't the first to try and make a life sim game, following in the steps of the only one in its genre for probably, well, decades now. So with all of that being said, I think this was the best decision they could have made right now, one that I think will only help the game grow. Yes, I am saying that, and genuinely too. This is not a heavy dose of copium as I admittedly had been using earlier. I think wholeheartedly that this was the only good decision they could have made right now. Would I have said that a few days ago? Probably, but not for the reasons I have now, knowing what we know now. So first of all, we know why the game was delayed. Why any game gets delayed. On the most basic surface level, it's just not ready yet. Still cooking, half-baked, not ripe enough, whatever food metaphor you want to use. Granted, it did come as a shock to many people. I was quite surprised myself actually, being so close to release and seeing how finished the build mode and the paramaker functions were. I really didn't think they would back out this soon. The thought did pop into my head a few days before, maybe stemming from the chatter I'd seen about it maybe not being as ready for early access as it had appeared, but still I really thought we were in the clear with being almost 3 weeks from launch. I did not expect that at all. However, and maybe some of you disagree with me here, which is absolutely fine, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I do actually think that this is the best decision that they could have made. So on Tuesday, patrons were treated to a 45-minute live stream of the live mode. I don't think I can say much about the content of the stream as it is patron only and I'm not about to disrespect their rules, so I won't dive into any of the specifics at all, but they did show a comprehensive amount of the live mode. In my personal opinion, I really don't think it was that bad at all. I saw a lot of people saying it was a train wreck, the gameplay looked awful and the bugs made it unplayable. I kind of disagree. Yes, there were a lot of bugs, particularly for basic things like pathfinding. The player wanted to get the para into this specific room and the para just wouldn't go in there despite the door being open and despite there logically being a clear path to that spot that the player wanted the para to go. And would I say that the game should be released in this state? No, I don't think it should be. It would get very poor reception. But to say that it's unplayable, a disaster, I think that's a bit of an overstep. It just looks like an early, maybe pre-alpha build. And so yes, they did the right thing by delaying. I think there was just so much hope riding on this game. People were understandably disappointed and frustrated by the last minute delay. I think the team were quite conscious and worried about this as they posted a video on YouTube last week as a kind of disclaimer regarding early access. A lot of the community had been suggesting to them along the way that they should ensure there are ample reminders or explanations of the fact that the game is in early access. I think there was a lot of concern within the community that it would receive the same reception as Inzoi did when that first released in early access. A lot of people felt Inzoi was lacking and empty when it released, and they sort of felt that relationships and social interactions were shallow and clunky. And because many hoped Inzoi would be a true competitor to The Sims 4, the gap between what was expected versus what was delivered felt very large. Inzoi is an early access game, but people still felt that it was lacking a lot. And perhaps a lot of players didn't really have an understanding of what early access means. They kind of expect the game to be fully fleshed. And now I think because of that, players are hesitant to give Inzoi a second chance. I saw some people going as far as to say it was a flop. In my opinion, I don't think the game itself was a flop. I actually think now as it stands, and even at launch, even though it was lacking features, I don't think it was a flop. I think it was a flop in that the player count did fall off a cliff pretty much. I don't know, a couple of weeks after release even, but from the latest updates that the game's received, I think it looks like it's coming on really nicely and I hope people do give it a chance. Case in point, there is an insane amount of hype for Paralives and I can only imagine the pressure that the team have been feeling over the coming months, especially as we got so close to the launch. They are an indie studio with a small team, they don't have billions of dollars behind them. Alex himself said, "I started this project wanting it to be a fresh and indie take on the Dollhouse life simulation genre, which had not been tackled by many game developers. I attribute this partly to the fact that a project like Paralives is a colossal task. Life sims are really 3 games in one, an advanced and flexible build mode, a greatly customizable character creator and a complex life simulation mode. Over the last 6 years of development, starting with 2 to 3 developers for the first years to growing to an average team size of only 10 people, we had to alternate long stretches of development between these 3 parts of the game. We are so proud of what we have built, but now we just need a bit more time to polish the simulation part of the game. This would ensure Paralives offers a great first experience when it launches, making players come back for every exciting free update and expansion that we'll put out afterwards. So I think they've done insanely well to produce what they have and what we've seen so far. And I think this was such a tough decision for them to delay because anyone can tell how much love and personality they've put into it. Life sims require AI behaviour, autonomy systems, needs, emotions, schedules, interactions. These systems interact with each other, so bugs multiply and then a single bug can literally just break the whole entire thing. And add on to that the fact that players judge life sims more harshly because they truly rely on and value above everything else consistency and immersion, time and time again. And that is the reason I just could not enjoy Sims 4. It was not immersive for me. So rather than rush out the game and risk it being undercooked, for lack of a better word, and receiving poor feedback from the masses, they decided to pull the plug on the December release date. So I think it was very sensible, and it just means they've got more time to polish the game. That's all it was. This year we ran many playtests with friends and fans, and we were confident that we could improve the game enough in time for December. In the lead up to early access release, we broadened our playtest with a more varied player base, and the latest feedback we received made us realise the game isn't up to the standard we wanted it to meet for release. Players enjoy the flexibility and the customisation of the Paramaker and build mode, however, there are still impactful bugs in the live mode and a lack of activities to do in the town, which dampen the enjoyment of the players, and we feel it's necessary to work on these before delivering the product to the community. I just really don't think we have any reason to be concerned. They haven't given us one, in my honest opinion. They've been nothing but transparent with us and reassuring us along the way. They are always in the Discord, answering questions and listening to feedback. We have a weekly dev chat too, which they've never shied away from difficult questions. If they don't know the answer, if they don't know if something's possible, they just tell us that. They tell us we don't know. Perhaps they should have started on live mode much earlier. I can't really make an informed comment on that because I'm not a game developer and I have no knowledge of how to make a game. I saw some people saying they should have started on this first and built the rest of the game around it, and logically that does make a lot of sense. I would agree with that stance. They have clearly noted our concerns about the lack of live mode we've seen and decided it was best to put the game on hold. In the statement, they announced another 45-minute live stream, this time accessible to everybody on their YouTube channel. They're giving us a real and raw look at the game and the state it is in their words. I think that's a very good move and will provide a lot of reassurance. Personally, I've waited years for this. Another 6 months, while upsetting, is absolutely doable. I'd much rather wait another 6 months or even longer if it needs to be and have a polished game with good reception. It's not the first and it certainly won't be the last game to be delayed. I've also seen a lot of people comparing this to the whole Life by You saga, where the game ended up being cancelled after being delayed multiple times. There's been comments worrying that Paralives will end up not coming out at all. I just don't see that happening, to be honest. As I already mentioned, the team have always been transparent with us and listened to feedback. We didn't see that as much with Life by You in terms of listening to the feedback, because I always remember that time period where there was a lot of criticism about the characters in the game and the character models just not being, well, good really. And a lot of the feedback that players gave, they just didn't seem to take it on board. And of course, while they don't have to, they're not obligated to. It's their game. However they want to develop it, they can. But it didn't seem like that at all. So there were a lot of issues with the game that people did point out, but the ultimate main reason that the game was cancelled was just due to the company. They just decided to cut the funding. It wasn't the team themselves that were actually working on the game. They didn't have any say in that. Ultimately, it was just the higher ups. They just cut the funding and ended the project. Case open shut. That was literally it. But that's not the case here with Paralives. The devs have already said that this game will release. No questions asked. This is Alex's and team's life project. They put so much love and effort into this game. I can't see them cancelling it now. It's just way too far gone. Of course, there is a part of me that finds it a little bit concerning, and there is a little voice worrying that it will turn out like Life by You. But I think that's only natural. We were so looking forward to that game too. But I think this is a completely different ballpark. I really do. Not to mention the amount of crowdfunding the game has received. If the team shut this down now, the backlash would just be immeasurable. I just don't even want to think what would happen. I myself, I've been a patron for a long time. I've probably contributed several $100 £100 at this point. And yeah, I would be upset too if they did cancel the game, because all of that money would kind of been for nothing. So yeah, I can understand why people are concerned in that respect. So I can't see them just cancelling. I think that would be a disaster. Okay, so now what? Well, I think the community will honestly just need a bit more reassurance in the form of visibility of the game, and that's exactly what the team are planning now. They know this delay will cause a level of worry and disappointment, and the fact they've decided to start showing us more just speaks again to how much they value us and our support for the game. They're very aware of what is going on in the community, and I don't think they're just going to ignore that. So again, I think this is the best choice they could have made. Sure, it was a bit rough delaying it so close to release, but if that's what needed to be done, at least they've made that tough call and just done it. I saw some people saying that it shows poor leadership or project planning, but I kind of think the opposite in some ways. Delays mean that the devs actually value that quality over deadlines, which is quite rare. Delays are financially risky for small indie teams, so this wouldn't have just been a decision they just made off the cuff. And choosing quality over quantity and over quick profit, it just does build that long-term trust. And yes, again, they could have probably started live mode a lot sooner, but you know what? At least they have this. At least they realise this now. It seems like they've learned and they've decided, we need to work more on this and actually change it. Change what we're doing and focus more on the live mode, which I think is what they'll be doing for the rest of the time up until the release. And this might be, I don't know, this might be a bit of a controversial comment. Maybe some of you won't agree with me here, but just looking at the silver lining, who knows? Maybe in a way the delay has brought the game even more attention. It's been in some news headlines and perhaps made its way to more people than it would have before. So let me know in the comments, do you agree, or do you think they should have just gone ahead and released it in December? I really want to know what you guys think. Personally, my main concern is how I'm actually going to fit in the time to play all these new games coming out next year, because quite a few of them have been delayed, as is common nowadays, I think, and they all seem to have a release date around the same time or in the same year, so I honestly don't know how I'm going to have time to fit them all in. But anyway, nothing is going to stop me. I've literally wanted this game for forever. I can't even explain to you guys. I'm sure you all feel the same as well. But I'm here to be your guys' source of positivity. Not toxic positivity, because that's not good either, but I'm just going to maybe look on the bright side of things, take a pragmatic approach, realistic approach, look at both sides, and just kind of carry on that hype train. This delay, it's not the end of Paralives, it's just one more step on the road to a better Paralives. I think we'll probably look back in time at this moment and it'll just be like a distant memory. And one day we will have that finished game in our hands, and I think it's going to be great. And I do think the wait will be worth it. So thank you so much again, guys, for watching. Please, if you did enjoy this video, found it interesting, informative, please do leave a like, comment, subscribe. It does mean so much to me. I know, again, I'm a tiny creator, but it really does mean a lot, and I really appreciate it. Again, thank you so much. I do have some more videos planned, but they're going to have to be redrafted, edited a bit, because they're a little bit outdated now, what with the current news we've got. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely time, guys, and I will see you in the next one.